Emma Thompson has won 2 Academy Awards, received a damehood, and built a reputation as one of Britain's brightest and most respected actresses. From the outside, her life looked almost perfect. Success followed her everywhere. But behind the applause was a heartbreak so deep that she once admitted it destroyed her sense of being lovable. The man she trusted betrayed her with another actress. Yet that isn't the strangest part of the story. The real surprise is how a psychic's prediction, a wrong first date, and one unexpected man helped change the rest of her life. But how did everything fall apart in the first place? To understand the pain Emma went through, you have to go back to the late 1980s. In 1987, she met actor and director Kenneth Branagh while filming the television drama Fortunes of War. Their connection was instant. They were talented, ambitious, funny, and completely devoted to acting. Love came quickly, and just 2 years later they married in a star-filled ceremony attended by many famous friends from the British acting world. Before long, they became one of the country's most admired celebrity couples. Audiences loved seeing them work together, and the press affectionately called them the Ken and Em Show. They seemed to have everything anyone could dream of. But appearances can hide a very different reality. And the first warning signs were already beginning to appear. As their careers exploded, so did the demands on their time. They were constantly filming different projects, often in different countries, spending weeks or even months apart. The pressure slowly chipped away at their relationship. Emma later admitted that she desperately wanted children, but their hectic schedules left little room for family life. Even her jokes about Kenneth being exhausted from work carried a sadness beneath the humor. They became so famous as a couple that they even stopped giving interviews together because they felt they were losing their individual identities. From the outside they still looked like the perfect pair. Behind closed doors, however, the cracks were getting wider. But what was really causing them? By early 1995, Emma was emotionally and physically exhausted. She spent time recovering at a health clinic, drained from years of stress. One story from that period says Kenneth came to visit, but Emma felt so disconnected she reportedly remarked that he hardly needed to come at all because all she wanted to do was sleep. Those are not the words of someone simply having a rough patch. They are the words of someone whose marriage is quietly slipping away. What Emma didn't fully understand yet was that something much bigger was happening behind her back. And when the truth finally came out, it changed everything. In 1995, Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh announced their divorce. Officially, they blamed demanding careers and too much time apart. It sounded reasonable, but it wasn't the whole story. During the filming of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Kenneth had grown close to his co-star Helena Bonham Carter. Their on-screen romance became a real one, and Kenneth was having an affair. Emma later admitted she had been completely blindsided. She said she was utterly blind to what was happening. Looking back, she realized how easily people can ignore painful truths when they desperately want to believe everything is fine. But discovering the truth shattered her confidence in a way few people expected. What happened next would stay with her for years. Emma has spoken openly about how devastating the betrayal was. She said she felt only half alive afterward. Even worse, she believed she had completely lost any feeling of being lovable or worthy. Think about that for a moment. Here was one of the most admired actresses in Britain, admired by millions, yet privately convinced she wasn't enough. Fame couldn't protect her. Awards couldn't comfort her. Success meant nothing against a broken heart. At her lowest point, she had no idea that the person who would help rebuild her life was already walking toward her. And the story of how they met sounds almost too unbelievable to be true. While Emma was pouring her emotions into writing the screenplay for Sense and Sensibility, another actor was preparing to join the cast. His name was Greg Wise. Before filming began, Greg had spoken with a friend named Helen, who claimed to have psychic abilities. She told him something unforgettable. According to her, he would meet the woman he would one day marry on the set of his first major film. Greg remembered the prediction but didn't think much about it. When he arrived on set, he assumed the psychic must have been talking about someone else entirely. But who did he choose instead? Greg quickly became interested in the young Kate Winslet, who played Mary Ann Dashwood. She was charming, talented, and seemed like the obvious answer to the psychic's mysterious prediction. So he asked her out to dinner. The evening, however, was a complete disappointment. There was no spark, no chemistry, and no excitement. It was simply two people sharing a meal before realizing they weren't meant for each other. Greg assumed the prediction had been wrong. But it hadn't failed at all. It had only been misunderstood. And the person who finally pointed him in the right direction was the very woman he'd just taken to dinner. Kate Winslet noticed something Greg hadn't. She saw the connection growing between him and Emma Thompson. She gently told Greg he was looking at the wrong woman. She also let him know that Emma's marriage had ended. Suddenly everything clicked. The psychic hadn't been mistaken. Greg had simply been looking in the wrong direction. Standing in front of him all along was the woman he was actually meant to meet. There was just one enormous problem. Emma wasn't ready to trust anyone. After everything she had been through, could she possibly open her heart again? Greg didn't rush her. He knew she was carrying deep emotional wounds. Months after Emma's divorce became final, she agreed to go on a date with him. This time, everything felt different. Their connection was easy, warm, and genuine. Greg wasn't trying to rescue a famous actress. He simply cared for the person behind the fame. Slowly, with patience and kindness, he helped Emma believe in herself again. Years later, she summed it up with heartbreaking honesty. She said two things had saved her, her work, and Greg. Then she added the words that captured everything. Greg, she said, picked up the pieces and put them back together. But their greatest achievements together were still ahead. Instead of rushing into marriage, Emma and Greg spent years building a solid relationship. They dated for around 8 years before marrying in the Scottish town of Dunoon in 2003. By then, they had already welcomed their daughter Gaia, who was conceived through IVF when Emma was 39 years old. Their growing family soon took an unexpected turn that revealed even more about the people they had become. And it had nothing to do with Hollywood glamour. Some years later, Emma and Greg met a young refugee named Tindjebwa Agaba, a former child soldier who had escaped unimaginable violence in Africa before arriving alone in Britain. They invited him for Christmas dinner. That invitation changed all of their lives. Tindi eventually became part of their family and was welcomed as their son. Emma has often said that knowing him transformed her understanding of refugees and asylum seekers. She saw firsthand the challenges they face every single day, from prejudice to loneliness to simply being treated as less than human. Watching Tindi build a new life became one of the greatest lessons she ever received. But what happened to him afterward is equally inspiring. Tindi grew into a successful human rights activist, dedicating his life to helping refugees and displaced people around the world. Emma has proudly spoken about how people like him remind us never to take freedom or opportunity for granted. Their home became a place built not on celebrity but on compassion, generosity, and second chances. Yet despite all the happiness they had found together, Emma and Greg never believed love was some magical fairy tale. In fact, their secret to lasting happiness might surprise you. Emma has often said that romantic love is sometimes treated like a myth that promises impossible perfection. She believes real relationships are far more complicated. Long-term love, she says, demands constant effort, honesty, and patience. Greg shares exactly the same view. When people ask him the secret to their marriage, his answer is wonderfully simple. Keep working at it. That's all. No magic formula. No grand mystery. Just choosing each other again and again. They also spend long periods apart because of work and have learned that distance doesn't have to weaken a relationship. Sometimes it can even strengthen it. But perhaps the most remarkable part of their story is still to come. Greg has never felt threatened by Emma's success. He openly jokes that she earns far more money than he does and says she's welcome to keep doing it. While Emma shines in front of audiences, Greg happily spends time woodworking, gardening, and enjoying a quieter life. There is no competition between them, no struggle over fame or attention. In an industry where egos often destroy relationships, their humility has become one of their greatest strengths. Nearly 3 decades after meeting, they continue choosing partnership over pride. But Emma's greatest victory wasn't simply finding love again. It was something even harder. Many people never fully recover from betrayal. The hurt stays with them, quietly shaping every future relationship. Emma chose a different path. She poured her heartbreak into her acting, creating one of the most memorable scenes in Love Actually. The moment her character silently breaks down after discovering her husband's betrayal feels so real because Emma understood every emotion behind it. She once admitted she had years of practice crying alone before pulling herself together and facing the world with a smile. Real pain became unforgettable art. But the healing didn't stop there. Over time, Emma also found peace with Kenneth Branagh and Helena Bonham Carter. She has said the entire episode is simply blood under the bridge. Holding on to bitterness, she explained, takes too much energy. She even described Helena as a wonderful woman and joked that perhaps Kenneth loved them both because they were both a little eccentric. In an extraordinary twist, all 3 later appeared in the Harry Potter films and remained on friendly terms. That kind of forgiveness is rare. It shows just how completely Emma had healed. Today, Emma and Greg divide their time between London and their home in Venice, a city Emma has loved for years. She spends her time learning Italian, exploring new adventures, and embracing what she calls the best decade of her life. She describes her 60s as the youth of old age, filled with curiosity rather than regret. Looking back, her journey feels almost unbelievable. A devastating betrayal left her convinced she would never feel whole again. A strange prediction led one man to the wrong woman before guiding him to the right one. Patience replaced heartbreak. Kindness replaced doubt. And forgiveness replaced anger. In the end, it wasn't fame, destiny, or even a psychic that truly transformed Emma Thompson's life. It was the simple choice to trust again, to love again, and to let go of the past. That may be the bravest ending of all.